We have spent 2.5 weeks here in India. We elected just to do the Golden Triangle. We also found that the best way to do that is by catching the train.
So we thought, since we're doing the Golden Triangle, 3 different routes, why don't we try 3 different classes and see how they stack up against each other?
We did struggle a little bit with the National Indian Railways website. Some payment issues happened, so we ended up just booking through One2Go Asia for pretty much all of them, which is great because they gave us tips about scammers and what sort of scams to avoid, and also pretty detailed instructions to get to the train and how to board and everything like that.
So the first trip we did was Delhi to Agra, and that was executive AC seating class, I think it's called.
From the Nizamuddin train station all the way into Agra on the Gatimaan Express, it was called. When we arrived at the station, it was pretty busy, so there were mobs of people that were obviously getting off their train, getting on a new train. As soon as we pushed through those crowds, we ended up being by ourselves almost on the platform.
We did get there super early, especially for that first one, just because we weren't sure on how everything worked, to be completely honest, and it gives us a bit of anxiety. Like, imagine stuffing something up. I would say maybe get there 15-20 minutes early, like aim to be there early because they are prompt.
So when the train finally pulled up, we found our carriage because it was listed perfectly and our seats were listed perfectly as well. First thing we noticed when we got on there was the difference. It was almost like a barrier of air conditioning. It was incredible when you first walk on there.
So the AC seating class, I think it's 3x2, and then all above the seats is the bag space where you can put your bags and all your luggage.
The chairs are really, really comfortable. You could recline on the chairs. We also had little reading lights and charging ports. The service was comparable to an airline. Like, we got drinks as soon as we got on there, like cold waters. People had food delivered. We didn't want to have any just because we weren't too sure about it.
We still get a bit nervous about Delhi Belly.
Yeah.
Then they went through with like tea and coffee, and then went through and picked it all up. It's literally exactly like a flight.
Except newspapers as well. They give you, They gave out newspapers too, which was a nice little touch. We really, really liked the AC seating class.
Yeah, would highly recommend.
Highly recommend. We got into the train station at Agra. It was like any other train station here in India, pretty packed, lots of people wanting to give you rides, and we just walked a little bit out of the station and were able to order an Uber.
And then after a few days, we made our way back to Agra for our second class sleeper experience.
Yeah, this one was a little bit different than our first one. We did expect a bit of an upgrade because we're going from seating class to sleeper class. We ran into a few dramas.
You just log in, you put in your PNR, and it tells you what seats you're meant to be in. We've done that this time, but they're not confirmed. And it's not really telling us what we think it should be telling us.
That definitely should have been a red flag, but we ignored it. When the train pulled up, we got on. It was a bit of a schmozzle.
We got there a day early. We left Agra a day early.
Yeah, so we booked the right train. We just booked it for the next day. But ticket inspector eventually came around and said, "What are you doing here?" They said, "Look, you're on the wrong day. You have to book today." So it was a little fine. It wasn't too much. And then we had to rebook the same tickets that we originally booked at the One2Go Asia price. So it was a very expensive mistake. Luckily we had the cash on us, and then we're on the train. Do not make our mistake. It is now double the price.
All this to say though, that self-induced stress added to our experience. So when we say that like second class was like take that all into account.
But we got on, so second class is a 4-bed cabin.
And it's a cabin, but it's a curtain.
Yeah,
that just as the train's going slides open. So like it's not a cabin, it's just the entire carriage is a cabin. But I will say we were by ourselves in our cabin.
We were by ourselves. When we got in, it was dirty sheets on all 4 beds, as expected, because we weren't supposed to be on that train. But someone did come around with a brown paper bag that had your own bedding and sheets in there if we wanted to make up the bed and actually go to sleep.
And we converted the bottom bunk to a seat, so we could just both sit together.
There wasn't any food, didn't get any waters. You did have someone going up and down the aisles selling people chai tea, but that was it for any food. I don't know whether it was just our leg that we were on or if that's normal, but...
Again, the cabin had space for bags, outlets, clean sheets that came around, a pillow each.
A reading light. It had the things you need. We just weren't there under the best circumstances.
We weren't worried about them. We were worried about being on the train legally.
Yeah.
So after that whole schmozzle, we made sure to triple check our dates for our first class train because that left Jaipur station at 4:10 in the morning.
So we organised a transfer to the train station, which I'm so glad we did because we got there beautifully timed, nice and comfortable. Jaipur station was still quite busy, even though it was 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it really was.
People everywhere, people sleeping, waiting for their trains. Because we were in first class, we did get access to this little first and second class lounge area. It was pretty much an air-conditioned room.
One thing that I think it was at all of the stations, you can log in and put in your PNR and it tells you what carriage number you're going to be on. And then along the station, it actually has that number so you know where to stand. And when the train stops, your carriage is right in front of you. It makes it so easy to know where you've got to go and know where you're going to hop on. So we went down there, but then when the train pulled up, we went straight into our carriage and into our first class cabin. This one's an actual cabin because there's a door. We had 2 cabin mates. So on the trains, we believe you can have a cabin of 4 and you can get a cabin of 2. It's just quite rare. We had a cabin of 4, but it was fine. Like everyone was quiet.
Getting in at 4 in the morning obviously is a challenge because there was people that were just fast asleep. You could tell it was just slept in. My bedding did have a wet mark on it, but I didn't intend to use it anyway, so I just pushed it under the bed. And we didn't actually get any bedding replaced. We don't know if it's request based or anything, but on second class they were just giving out the spare sheets, so we did expect that we would get the spare sheets too, but we weren't going to use them. So
I probably would have. I was freezing up there. In the cabins, if you're on the top bunk, it is freezing because they've got the aircon blasting, which is lovely, but it's blasting on you. Like literally my nails were blue by the time we hopped off. I was that cold.
I was okay. Bottom bunk's fine.
Difference between second class and first class. Your cabin is slightly more spacious and it has a proper door, which makes it feel a lot more secure.
Helps a lot with the sound too. So in first class, it is like second class. You have 4 beds. You've got all the same amenities too. So there's a table to work on. You've got a PowerPoint, bedding. Obviously, hopefully it's clean. Reading light again, and a nice big window.
Do you think the mattress was better?
The mattress was thicker. Yes, I inspected.
Did you?
Yeah.
We probably had the best experience in the executive sitting class.
It was just so comfortable and easy, and we got food and water, and I would put that at number 1.
If it was overnight, I would spring for first class. Like it is quite a good difference between first and second. Plus just the security of having the door means you'd actually probably be able to sleep a little bit. And like you said, it's a bit quieter as well.
That's our little wrap up of the trains.
It definitely is like an easy way to get around India, and we say obviously 1-2Go Asia puts their little extra charge on, but it's still not crazy expensive.
Trains are great in India, and that's the 3 that we took. So this one's a squatty potty. Get a sink, a window. Squatty potty. I want to get out of here before it starts moving.